Hey, a portion of this video is brought to you by our sponsor today, Uplift Standing Desk. Stick around for an offer from them that is exclusive to you in the audience.
So there's no way to...
Speaking of rats...
Oh, okay. There is a way. So Don Lemon...
Oh!
Well, I should have started with Elon Musk after that segue. So Elon Musk owns Twitter, also called X, but we don't call it X here. It is called Twitter. And there was a recent announcement made that Don Lemon, formerly of CNN, was going to be given his own show on Elon Musk's platform.
Joining a soon-to-be future colleague, white nationalist Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
Tells you the priorities of rat Don Lemon.
And so they apparently hadn't signed an official contract, like there was no actual signature on the contract, but...
Brilliant move, Don.
There was a public announcement made, and I think up until like... It was announced that Don Lemon's show was actually canceled. They were not going to be moving forward with it on Twitter, that they had been preparing for it. So it came as a surprise when all of a sudden the plug got pulled on it. And the reason that they pulled the plug is Don Lemon decided to sit down and have an interview with Elon Musk. And first we must talk about how Elon Musk is just so dedicated to free speech and ensuring that the platform that he owns, Twitter, continues to be the public town square online, that everyone can have all these different ideas and they're all represented. But during this conversation with Don Lemon, Elon Musk did not appreciate the topics that were discussed, including Elon Musk propping up racists on his platform and talking about things like the Great Replacement Theory.
Hate speech on the platform is up. Do you believe that X and you have some responsibility to moderate hate speech on the platform? That you wouldn't have to answer these questions from reporters about the Great Replacement Theory as it relates to Democrats?
I don't have to answer these questions.
The Great Replacement Theory as it relates to Jewish people. Do you think that?
I don't have to answer questions from reporters. Don, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
So you don't think? Do you think that you wouldn't get in trouble or you wouldn't be criticized for these things?
I'm criticized constantly. I could care less.
Pretty remarkable arrogance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just recalcitrance and just I don't have to answer any questions about my Nazi leaning white supremacy views about the Great Replacement Theory, which is a conspiracy that Jews are taking over the world and trying to foist demographic changes upon the world as a tool to change the voting behavior. It's pernicious and gross, and he feels above it all. And the fact that when he's questioned, he pulls the plug on the show that he was going to give Don Lemon tells you everything you need to know about this megalomaniac.
I do think, and Don Lemon is a professional, he's been doing this for a long time, but I found it interesting that he was asking like multiple questions in one, and it kind of gave Elon an out, where he was able to focus on the part of the question that he wanted to answer rather than like the Great Replacement Theory part. He was able to then hone in on, the criticism at the end of the question.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfortunate because if you are wanting to hold his feet to the fire and really get an answer about this, then it would be important to really make him uncomfortable. It seemed like he was uncomfortable. So something had happened where it already seemed tense and uncomfortable. And I think maybe, and I've been in these situations before where it's tough to kind of meet them where they are in that tension and really like sit in it. And sometimes you feel pressure to clean it up a little bit. And so maybe Don Lemon was experiencing some of that. But
especially when you're interviewing your paycheck. I mean, Don Lemon gets fired from CNN, gets let go from CNN, which, by the way, reportedly they owe him like $24 million. So he's not broke. But what's he do? Immediately, he runs to Elon Musk, the white supremacist, and going to make a colleague out of Tucker Carlson. It just shows you that really there is no principle here. There is no line in the sand. There is no job or duty too degrading for somebody like Don Lemon to go into business and be in league with these kinds of monsters.
Well, and then
Gross.
Elon Musk, of course, not only is he in control of this social media platform that has the ability to sway and inform people, and he has used that in a way that does elevate hate speech, does elevate these racist conspiracy theories on the platform. He's also meeting with Donald Trump, and Don Lemon took a moment to ask him about that as well.
You recently met with Donald Trump in Florida. What did you guys talk about?
I was at a breakfast at a friend's place, and Donald Trump came by. That's it.
What did you discuss?
Let's just say he did most of the talking.
Did he ask you for money?
He didn't.
Are you going to loan him money to help pay his legal bills?
I'm not paying his legal bills in any way, shape, or form.
Did he ask you for a donation?
No.
Are you leaning towards anyone?
No.
You're not leaning towards anyone because you've been.
Well, I'm leaning away from Biden.
You're leaning.
Oof, that laugh.
He seems unwell. And I know he was asked about ketamine or drugs or some other thing that really kind of set him off, but he doesn't seem well. And not from a sympathetic viewpoint of, I hope he's okay. This is a guy who is in charge of, who owns outright a major mechanism for conversation and the dissemination of ideas and information. And he's leaning away from Biden and trying to minimize a meal he had with Donald Trump. I was just having breakfast at a friend's house and old Donnie showed up. It's not like when you and I have breakfast or any of us have breakfast and a friend randomly stops by. This is the former president of the United States who's there most certainly to specifically have a conversation with Elon Musk, the richest man on the planet, to get money.
Also, who was the friend? Was it Nick Fuentes?
Right.
Who was the friend that they were all having breakfast with?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's wildly concerning that this is the person who is running Twitter, who gets to decide what these algorithms do, who gets to make the speech rules when he can't even handle an interview with Don Lemon. I mean, he's that sensitive.
He also bans people who say anything that's even sideways against him. He acts like he's a free speech absolutist, but it's really only views that he appreciates get absolutely locked in with no pushback whatsoever, up to and including the rampant use of the N-word and all kinds of other racist, Nazi-defending, Holocaust-denying nonsense on Twitter. It is just a fucking cesspool over there.
Well, and this is also important because of the conversation that's been happening related to TikTok this week, where the House on Wednesday passed a bill that would basically force TikTok's owner to sell the app or to have it banned in the United States. And there was a recent interview with the former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin under the Trump administration. And apparently he's putting his name out there, saying that he's putting a team together to talk about whether or not they will end up purchasing TikTok.
Start with TikTok, because I think we're all trying to understand what's happening here, whether it should be banned, divested, or otherwise. And if it is divested, who may be a potential buyer?
Well, you know, when I was Treasury Secretary, I chaired CFIUS, and CFIUS approved, and I had President Trump sign an order that TikTok had to be sold. And I continue to believe that. So I think the legislation should pass, and I think it should be sold. I understand the technology. It's a great business, and I'm going to put together a group to buy TikTok.
You're trying to buy TikTok?
I am, because this should be owned by U.S. businesses. There's no way that the Chinese would ever let a U.S. company own something like this in China.
You say, have you already put a group together?
Yeah, well, I'm working
on it. You're exploring a group.
I've spoken to a bunch of people, but
who would be part of your group?
I can't tell that to you now, but it would be a combination of investors, so there would be no one investor that controlled this. And the issue is all about the technology. This needs to be controlled by U.S.
Let me ask you a very practical.
Just what we need. Twitter, owned by a MAGA crazy person, or at the very least, someone steeped in believing as fact wild, racist conspiracy theories. Meta, Facebook, is owned by Mark Zuckerberg, who has no dedication, no loyalty, no adherence to the principles of democracy and non-interfering in our democracy. And then we have another MAGA turd who would own TikTok right before an election. Sounds like a recipe for good times for conservatives and the Republican Party.
Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare. And I mean, 170 million Americans use TikTok. It is very popular with young people. And you have people like Nancy Pelosi during their speech in support of the legislation saying something about like tic-tac-toe and trying to seem like they are really with it and understanding the youngins. And it just doesn't seem like the right move in an election year to be going after this very popular app that is popular with young people. And it's scary to think about MAGA Republicans controlling yet another social media platform that, again, 170 million Americans are using, especially young people, where then they get to control the algorithm and control what you are shown.
Right.
It's very alarming to think that could be possible.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence. I think that there is a definite dangerous element to TikTok. The version that plays in Chinese phones in China is completely different. The things that they see are more uplifting. They're not as addicting. They're not as brain altering. Here, it just the algorithm run wild, and that's a problem. I mean, some of this stuff is up in the purview of parents to lead their kids better. But I get it. But I think I fall on the side of free speech because it is a powerful tool of disseminating useful news and information to a younger generation that's not going to get it from Facebook. They're not going to get it from Twitter. They're not going to get it likely from YouTube. And we need to meet them where they are to counteract misinformation. Conspiracy theories, which seem to be like a Kellyanne Conway alternative facts. Finding the right materials and tech to fit your working environment can be tough. With our podcast spaces, we went through a bunch of different desks and chairs while searching for a flexible setup that worked best for us. That setup? Our Uplift Standing Desk.
As the New York Times Wirecutter's standing desk pick for 5 years running, Uplift Desk doesn't just aim to improve your work, but your health as well. Studies show that using a standing desk can heighten your mood and focus, and moving more throughout the day lowers your risk of disease.
We absolutely love our Uplift Desk because we can go from sitting to standing height with one press of a button while prepping for and shooting the show. It's also super stable and comes with cable management accessories to help conceal all those wires. Customize your Uplift Desk with over 100 desktop styles and hundreds of accessories. You'll get 4 free when you buy a desk.
Elevate your work and your health. Go to upliftdesk.com/IDoubtIt to get 5% off your first purchase when you use code IDoubtIt at checkout. Uplift Desk has 6,000 5-star Google reviews and counting, so we're not the only people singing their praises. And with a 15-year warranty, free shipping, free returns with free return shipping, you cannot lose if you try them out. Uplift your health and productivity.
Just head to upliftdesk.com/IDoubtIt or click the link in the description to score 5% off of your order when you use code IDoubtIt at checkout. Work better, live healthier with Uplift Desk.